Okay, I'm gonna wait a bit, see if we can get anyone else in here before we start. As a matter of fact, we can actually just get started now. Okay, good. So inside this webinar training that you guys are gonna get from me, I'm gonna show you guys how you should be selling during the recession, so you don't have to depend on third-party websites. And we're gonna do this through a form of market suffocation. And before we actually get into it, I'm gonna show you guys an example of kind of what are the effects of what we're getting ready to do. So number one, this is a partner of ours that we partnered up with, a dealer that has made 27 grand, but we've only spent, and this is profit, they made 27 grand and only spent $600 with this exact process. And I'm going to give it all to you guys so you can actually clone it and increase your bottom line as well. So I'm going to show you the exact process from step by step. Now, there is a disclaimer, right? So not everybody's going to make $27,000 only spending 600 bucks, right? That all depends on a level of skill sets that you guys have available to you. And number one, starting with just a great sales follow-up, right? A great team that can, a great sales team to begin with. And that's going to include closers, again, people who can set appointments. It's also going to include just having some decent inventory that people actually want, being in a decent market, right? All of those things add up to get to the result that we were able to produce. Now, what I'm going to show you is exactly what we did, and you can use that to grow your business. And this is where you have to, this is the time where you need to use market suffocation. Like there's no, hey, there's no option. You've got to do it because it allows you to spend less and squeeze out and get a lot of bang for your dollar. So I'm going to go over who is this actually going to work for. So number one, it's going to be independent dealer, luxury dealers, exotic car dealers, volume dealers, buy here, pay here, franchise dealerships, all of the above, right? And the goal for you guys that I want you to have at the end of this class is you're going to actually have a step-by-step process as to what to do so that you guys can implement market suffocation. But I also want you guys to understand why market suffocation is literally the only way you guys have, the only option that you guys need to take to sell more cars during a recession. So you're going to have that as well once we get done with this. So real quick, a little background about me. I actually started in the car business very early on in my career. But before I did, I was a diesel mechanic. This guy that you see right here on the left, right? That's one of my mentors. Actually, it's my first mentor that I had in the car business. His name is Chuck. And I remember transferring from turning wrenches, I was a diesel mechanic, to starting in sales. And when I took this picture, he was actually getting transferred. We got a new GM in, and he was actually one of the managers that was going to follow his old GM to the place he actually went. But I remember when I first got there, I took this picture. It's probably a couple months in, 4 or 5 months, and I was struggling bad, right? I couldn't sell to save my life. I'm just being completely honest with you. And it got to the point, my draw was 2 grand. I was making $3,500 as a diesel mechanic. It got to the point where I put in my 2-week notice because I was going backwards. My account was on fire. And I remember him saying, hey, listen, man, before you do this, before you quit out on this, give me 1 more month. You give me 1 more month, you follow everything that I'm getting ready to show you, you do it down to a T, and you still don't get results, all power to you, right? Then go ahead and transition back. But, however, if you start getting results, hang in it for the long haul, right? And so that's what I did. I actually started to become a lot better at sales. And I remember that month, it was actually March, where I made the most money I've ever made in my life at that point in time. I think my commissions came up to $7,500. And again, I'm used to making 3 grand. So this is double the income that I'm used to. I was able to pay everything off. And I remember from that point on, I was kind of sold on it. But I still had a little problem there, right? March was one of the biggest, well, March for us in the Midwest market. I was in Kansas City at a Van Taal store. March was pretty much a peak season where we do get an influx of business, right? Coming out of winter. And so what happened was I got in front of a lot of people, but what allowed me to get those commissions was I got good at selling. He taught me on how to sell, but now I had a new problem. The month after that, I wasn't making $2,000 anymore, but I was hovering around $3,500. So I was kind of right back to even again. And that's because I got better at selling, but I did not actually get better at, I got better at closing. I didn't get better at selling, I should say. And I remember a guy named John Casper. He was my manager at the time. He said, Ricky, listen, just find 10 ways to sell 2 cars. You'd be a 20-car sales guy, and everything would be roses and daisies, right? So that got my brain going. How can I find 10 different ways to sell 2 cars? And then that's where at the same time I kind of did a self-evaluation. I remember at the time I was doing e-commerce. So I was learning this when you look at it at the time, I was doing this sales thing, right? I'm selling cars at the time, learning how to get better at sales. I'm mastering that craft. I'm getting all types of books and training that I can get on to get better. And I was getting better. And then at the same time, I was holding on to this e-commerce thing as if this is what's going to be my backup. And so that you guys fully understand, let me take a step back. When I was a diesel mechanic, the only reason why I got into sales and started selling cars because I wanted to have a business, but I knew that I needed to understand what sales was, because that's the lifeblood of any business. Without any sales, there is no business, right? There is no employees. There is no people that work for you. There is no nothing. There is no products that you can sell. You can't keep so I had to understand sales. And while I was selling at the time in my head, okay, I'm understanding sales. And now let me try this e-commerce thing because this is going to be the business. So I was doing both at the same time. And I realized one day I was actually selling, I picked up a program from Grant Cardone, and I'm in one of his selling programs. And I remember one time he dropped a financial course and he said, hey, listen, before you start an extra flow out here, right? What you want to do is you just want to layer the flow you have now. And at the time, a light bulb went off in my head. I realized I was splitting my focus. And that's when I decided to kind of combine all of my skills together. So all of the things I was learning from e-commerce, finding people without me having to be present. I was transacting when I wasn't actually working. So I found a way to generate a system that made me money without me having to put any effort into it after I done got everything set up. And I was in sales at the same time, and I kind of was like, hold on, wait a minute. What if I can solve my problem? What was my problem at the time? The problem at the time was I wasn't getting in front of enough people. I was getting better at selling or closing, but I wasn't getting better at selling. I wasn't getting in front of enough people. So I thought to myself, I said, hey, listen, what if I can take the skills that I know out of here and I can put it into and layer what I'm doing now, meaning increase the amount of people that I talk to, still work on my closing, and then I can actually hover myself around that peak season without having to depend on the dealer. So that was my problem at the time. So I decided to, again, combine my skills and layer that together. And that's when I started running ads, pretty much similar to my e-commerce business, right? Because at the time I didn't have a roadmap. So whatever I knew from e-commerce, I just transitioned it over into sales. I shut the e-commerce business down. I said, I'm gonna take all this advertising money, I'm gonna put it over here for myself and see if I can generate some more leads. And I kind of set up the ads similar. I took this kind of a similar approach, and they didn't work at all, right? It was actually a complete disaster. And I remember just hitting that wall. It was just like, yeah, maybe this isn't the way. Maybe this doesn't work, right? And I just remember keep going at it. And I realized that over here, I was selling a $5, $10, $15 product. Over here, I was selling a 40, 50, sometimes $100,000 products, right? Depending on what it was. And I remember there was a guy named Alex Ramosi, and he created a miniature course, and it went over offers, and it went over understanding the personnel, understanding your price points, understanding the different ways people buy, depending on what they're buying, right? Long story short, I was able to put a plan together where I was going to deliver or take the advertising that I knew and morph some of the stuff I learned from Alex Ramosi with offers and customer acquisition and things like that. And I put a plan together, And one of the big things that stuck out to me was goodwill, right? So make offers, but also deposit goodwill while you're making those offers. And then that will help you build up your momentum. And so I've created a plan where, hey, listen, I'm going to create some really good offers that are so good people will feel stupid for not doing. And then at the same time, I'm going to deposit goodwill to those people that I'm sending offers to every single day, right? Via social media, via direct mail, right? Every single day I'm gonna drop some goodwill. And like I remember, it was like literally overnight, leads just start flowing in, right? So here's an example. I came across his ad through Facebook and was undecided about purchasing a new car, and he made me a great offer on my trade in and sold me a brand new 2020, right? I started selling cars off of the moment I started to switch from making a lot of better offers and also depositing that goodwill. I think the goodwill had a big part to do with it. Here's some more examples, right? This is where I was actually, people that knew about the store, the goodwill that I was delivering every single day built me a following. And by building that following, people would hit me up out of nowhere. Hey, listen, I just wrecked my car. I'll be calling you next week, which you can see here, right? Ricky, could you give me a call back? This is XYZ, right? Thanks, Ricky, for the new Equinox. I was looking for a new car. If you're looking for a new car, I recommend him. He worked everything out for me. Didn't have to, don't have the best credit. He's still able to get you done, right? That person I found on through my ads, they came through one of my offers and that goodwill that I was delivering. Needing a car for work, a sick husband to take to the doctor and hospital to me. So listen, I was getting these leads for the first time coming in, like out of the woodworks. And when I look back, it was literally making good offers and depositing goodwill and frequency meaning every day. They seen 3, 4, 5 different videos from me every day. And those videos I was delivering goodwill. And there's other ways you can deliver goodwill. It doesn't just have to be through videos, but that's what I was doing every day. And again, hey, what I also found out, and this shocked me, the people that were test driving with me that didn't buy a car, this was also used as follow-up. And you'll see here, hey, we enjoyed meeting you Saturday, Ricky. Thanks for the introduction to the XT4. I was selling caddies at the time. A lot of fleet vehicles are being sold because and what I'm trying to point out here is this was used to acquire new customers, and this was also used to follow up the people that did not close inside of the store that already had an initial contact point with them, right? I mean, this thing was deadly. So anyway, long story short, come at the end of this, right, I no longer had a marketing problem. I no longer had a selling problem. And at that point of time, I was independent of the dealer. And I still remember it to this day. I mean, I was almost like a celebrity at the dealership. I would get a lot of half deals because people would come in, they would work with somebody, didn't know that I actually worked there. I come walking by, they stare at me weird, and they go, hey, are you this guy right here, right? And they will want to now, hey, is it okay if I work with him? Right? I've been watching some of his stuff. I've been getting on some of his content. Like it was that goodwill I was dropping every day, and that's an immediate half deal. And those deals closed so much faster. It was so much trust built. I sold warranties were sold through it as well. So like they trusted me with the warranties, the back end products, right? Because I had that trust, I had that goodwill. I mean, it's amazing how this stuff works. Fast forward to now, which I thought that e-commerce was going to be my business. Well, helping dealerships implement market suffocation actually became a business when people started reaching out and kind of finding out what I was doing. Again, wanted to pick my brain, and then one thing led to another, right? Just like referral business, right? You do a good job from one person, they recommend a buddy that's in a different market, and they recommend a buddy, and it just kind of grew from there, right? But what I want you guys to understand is this process, when I talk about market suffocation, this process was discovered the hard way. And it was discovered by me solving my own problem first. I had a selling problem. I had a marketing problem. I solved my own problems first with this method before I go out and try to help other people. So if you're struggling right now, you got to understand some of the people that you're working with, whether that's you hired an agency and they're really not working out to what you may have thought, right? It could be just because you got to understand marketing agencies could be working with a wide variety of people. They may not have necessarily solved their own problems. So the systems and processes that they're giving you, they haven't used it for themselves. They've only used it as a way or as a mechanism that they've seen other people use in your industry that has proven to be, to produce results, but they may not know how to get results for you because they didn't solve this problem for themselves, right? Just like I remember a guy telling me, say, listen, man, if you want, like, I was watching a clip of a guy named Ed Milet, and his father was a alcoholic. And I remember when he said that his father got clean one day. He didn't believe his father told him that he was going to get clean one day. He didn't actually believe it, right? Because he was an alcoholic. He always said he was going to get clean. But that day, I remember him saying he did actually get clean for that day, and he's just been clean for years. And he says that the person that actually helped him get clean, the person that helped him had his own demons, had his own problems, right? He was an alcoholic. He's seen his life get destroyed. And he was the only qualified person that can go up to his father and tell him, hey, this is what you need to do, right? Because he's been through it. He's seen the destruction. So it's a transfer of experience is what I'm getting at here. I've done this to solve my own problems. Some of these marketing companies have not solved their own selling problems inside of selling cars. So if you have any issues with things that are not really working out, it's because they really don't have a full perspective, because they haven't sold cars a day in their life. They haven't been on the floor. They haven't sold any back-end products. They haven't sold warranties. They didn't do the tire and wheel. They didn't do they just didn't, they haven't gone through the process. Another thing is, if you try to do it yourself and just haven't had any luck, I mean, you got to understand too, that it doesn't happen overnight, right? You may have one perspective, and you may think that one perspective is true reality as to how it works. But then when you go and apply it, just like a theory, when you go to apply it, it didn't work, right? And you got to kind of become a mad scientist and continue to test, watch the things that's working, scale up on those things, cut the things that don't work. And that takes time, that takes effort, that takes energy, that takes commitment, right? So if you try to do it yourself for the first time and it didn't really work out, I mean, I would say still stay consistent with it. But I mean, that happens with everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. You'd be very lucky if you try something for the first time and it worked. Hats off to you. So I want you guys to understand that, you can speed up this process by finding somebody who has used this to solve their own problems first, and just leveraging that experience if you guys are having any issues with that, right? So when I first developed this way, or what anybody would consider market suffocation to be, and how people would market prior to me developing this system, and they're still kind of doing it today, honestly. But before I had what I had, this is what people would spend to kind of get the similar results. Meaning they might not have spent $600, right? But they still might have made $27,000 in profit. But this is what they had to spend their money on to get that, right? So it could be anywhere between $1 to $2 grand for direct mail. SEO, right? That's $1,500 a month minimum, and maybe even more. And then you got to wait for months on months for it to start getting results, right? Radio ads, that can easily be 10, 15K a month. Third-party listing sites, Facebook Marketplace, that's free. Retargeting on Facebook, just retargeting people coming to your website. But really, I mean, you could easily spend 18 grand just to make that $27,000, $30,000 in net profit, right? Similar results. And what I want to show you guys is, and I'm actually going to give you guys a literal funnel that you can take and do and implement right now, which will allow you to cut all those costs down, right? You're not going to spend 18 grand a month. We're going to cut all that down to $600, but still get the same result, being efficient. And the reason why this is important is because when we go through a recession, things contract, people contract, businesses contract. They are cutting the supply of money. Credit is hard to get a hold of. More people are living off of credit though, right? Because they're making less money. Inflation, things are costing more. So in this situation, you want to adapt this this system that I have, because it allows you to spend the least amount of money possible, but in the areas that gets you the actual results. So it's quality over just pure quantity, right? It's quality quantity is what I should say, because you are hitting the same people that are in the market over and over and over again. So I'm going to transition over to some secrets that you guys need to know. This is going to be what you guys are going to use to actually get this to work for you. I'm going to build this out live for you at the same time. So secret number one, you got to have a digital buyers list, right? I'm going to teach you guys how to build a list of buyers ready to make purchasing decision, right? How to find people who are ready to make a decision, and then how to expand on that. And then we're going to show you guys how to attack it. Sticky offers that are so good. I mean, people feel kind of stupid for not doing them, right? And as well as implementing goodwill while you're offering these things at the same time. I'll dissect that in a little bit. And then also, secret number three, omnipresent distribution, right? Distribution. So you got these offers, you got some goodwill, that ideas that you can come up with, right? And now you want to implement this, you want to get this out, right? How do we distribute this, right? It's through an omnipresent channel or through an omnipresent marketing system. And I'm going to show you guys how to effortlessly use that system, which has allowed us to spend only $600 and make them 29, 30 grand in net profit. So secret number one, let's get into it. How to build a list of buyers. And a list of buyers, what I mean by that is people who are ready to make a purchasing decision. Now, before we get into that, I want to show you how I came up with this, because again, you don't just say, I want to build a list of buyers, people who are ready to make a purchasing decision, and then you go, okay, let's do it. And then it works out for the first time. It never happens that way, right? So how I actually developed this, I remember the time that there was a time where I was getting leads, but the leads were not really the best. I mean, they couldn't, number one, they either didn't qualify for the product, they couldn't buy it even if they wanted to. They didn't have or qualify for to purchase the product. They didn't qualify to want the product or need the product, right? Meaning a lot of the people that are coming in, I was at a Chevy Cadillac store, Chevy Cadillac Subaru store, and a lot of these people were not interested. Maybe they wanted a Ford, right? They didn't want a Chevy. They didn't want what we had, our inventory, right? So I was having an issue with those two things. People couldn't qualify, and people didn't qualify to actually purchase the vehicle. And then they also didn't qualify to actually want it or need it. And then another thing was they just wasn't in the market at the time, right? So I got a lot of that, a lot of, maybe next year, 2 years, 3 years, right? So I was dealing with a lot of that stuff. If you're dealing with a lot of that stuff, you're going to really understand how this all works. So that was kind of the big wall. I was dealing with that. And I can't remember what I was listening to at the time, but it shifted my focus. And at the time, I remember, I don't know, remember what incited me to do this, but I got this idea that all of the people that's coming to the dealer's website from third-party sites or anywhere else, organic or however, if they found a way to interact with the dealership, they found the dealer from a site that I knew or a person, or just, hey, I bought a car from them. That's where I was able to go, okay, these people are more serious, right? And then I got a little bit more clever. The people that were on the site, but was actually filling out forms, going through the payment tools, right? Those were the people that were more serious. And so I've developed a filtration process that literally cut my advertising cost like by 70%, because I literally just stopped. I trimmed out all the fat and really just focused on the people that took buying behaviors that allowed me that identified to me that these people are actually serious. And I put all of my marketing efforts towards them. And that's where I was able to bring my marketing down and actually focus on the right people. And that expanded the business. That allowed me to get a lot of deals, a lot of leads that are actually qualified. So step number one for you to actually do this is you need to install all of your data trackers on your website. So if you're new or this is not familiar to you, a data tracking pixel is what they call it, is a piece of code that you get from whatever platform that is. So Facebook and Instagram, they give you a piece of code, put it on your site. And then now what happens is anybody who lands on your site, they don't even have to come from Facebook or Instagram. You now have the ability to take them and retarget them, put them in a bucket, a main bucket, and retarget them. You also have the ability, right, to retarget people based on specific behaviors they make on your website. So for an example, if someone goes to your website and they're playing around with your payment tool, you can take all of those people and put them in a separate bucket. And this is how you identify people who are actually serious and not serious. Why retarget everybody that's not serious? Or why retarget everybody where you have a small majority of people who are serious, they're ready to make a decision, versus a large mass of people who are not, right? Why target all of them? I only focus on the people that are ready to do something. I put a lot of focus on the people that are ready to do something. And we still followed up with people that weren't, but it was a majority of everything that we did was on the people that took actions, had behaviors that indicated to us they're serious. Once you have those set up, you want to drive intent-based traffic. So all traffic's not treated the same. And what I mean by that is, think about the psychology of somebody coming across you guys from organic search, right? So someone's like, hey, I want to buy a car and I want to go visit some lots today, or I want to go see some vehicles today. They go online, they say, pre-owned dealerships near me, Chevy dealership near me, Subaru dealership near me, right? They already predetermined in their head, they're going to go on someone's dealership's website, maybe drop by their store, maybe test drive a vehicle, maybe do business today. And they end up on your website, but they're predetermined to do something, right? They end up on your site, but they didn't know who you were. They were already predetermined to make a decision before they even knew who you were, right? That type of traffic is totally different from somebody that is, you're running an ad from social media, like you're running a Facebook ad and you're saying, visit my website, check out these deals, right? That's totally different, because on Facebook, social, you're interrupting somebody, number one, but they're not going there to buy cars most of the time, right? They're going there to be social. You may catch their attention for 5-10 seconds. Oh, this thing's cool. Let me see what they got. Nothing indicates that they're in the market. That's why a lot of Facebook leads and Instagram leads are garbage, right? A lot of people struggle with that because you're interrupting them, right? Versus on the other side, they already took an action to actually solve their problem. They didn't even know who you were before. They didn't even know who you were. They just ended up on your website because you kind of showed up while they were looking. Same thing with third-party websites, right? Same thing with like Car Gurus. They go on Car Gurus. I know exactly what I want to look for. They're not thinking about you. They just happen to stumble across you because you had the vehicle they were interested in, that they were going to take action on anyway, whether you had it or not. That is the type of traffic you want to drive to your website, okay? Once you do that, this is kind of going back into what I was discussing a couple slides back. You want to segmentate your audience. You don't want to target everybody. You want to target the people that are taking specific behaviors on your website that indicate that they are trying to make a purchasing decision, right? So someone who lands on your homepage and leaves, there's no indication there that they're trying to that they are going to make a purchasing decision very soon. Somebody who's playing around with a payment tool, trying to see what the payment is, staying on that for 10-15 minutes, like a time duration, that's someone who's going to make a purchasing decision, right? So what you need to do is make sure that your website, number one, is set up for that type of behavior to happen to begin with, so that you can now take them and put those in those buckets. And then you can deliver offers, deliver goodwill, and that gets them to actually, gets you to have influence over them, and that gets them to make decisions towards what you want them to do, right? Which is come into the store and purchase a vehicle from you guys, right? Not anyone else. So again, it kind of just went into it. Your offers got to be really good. I mean, they got to be good to a point where they will feel kind of weird for not doing it, right? And again, there was a guy named Alex Ramoso who taught me a formula that you guys can take, because I can't make an offer for every single dealership out there, right? Because a lot of you guys are going to see this, and there's not a one-off fit-all. But however, there is a formula for you guys to follow, and we're going to go into that. So you got dream outcome. At the top bar, you got dream outcome and perceived likelihood of achievement. Dream outcome is exactly what they want. So if they're a bad credit person, their dream outcome is actually getting financed in a small period of time without having to wait to grow their credit. right? Because they need a car right now. They need a car right now. That could be a dream outcome for someone that has bad credit. A dream outcome for someone who's going to pay cash, that's sitting on some money, got some extra income, right? A dream outcome for them is just the car that they actually want, right? And it could also be that, hey, I want a good deal because I'm, people with cash think, hey, I got cash. That's somehow better than financing. When we all know if you finance, we get a little bit more, right? Cash is trash, right? It's not as good as it was back then. But hey, we got cash. But in their head, the dream outcome was because I'm paying cash, I want to get a deal, or at least feel like I'm getting a deal, right? Perceived likelihood of achievement. Okay, what that is simply this: they perceive that if they do business with you, or if they entertain, or if they get in contact with you, the likelihood of them actually getting a dream outcome is going to come true. Okay, that's all that is. Think about it this way. Let's say you got a very special surgery that needs to happen to your face, right? Let's say it needs to happen to your nose. Something needs to happen there, right? Would you go to a person that has only done that surgery one time, that special surgery one time, or would you go to somebody that you know have done it 10,000 times? You go to the person that's done it 10,000 times, because the likelihood of them doing it and not screwing up your face perceived is much higher than the person that's only done it once. And the reality of it could be simply that they both can do it, right? That's the reality sometimes, that there is no difference. But perceived and reality is two different things. So perceived likelihood of you guys actually getting them that dream outcome. Then right there at the bottom, these are the things that most people do not pay attention to, but they make a big difference. Okay. Number one, time delay. So if you can decrease the amount of time that they have to put into this, okay, that increases the value. If you can remove effort and sacrifice, that increases the value. So this is your formula. This is how you guys can create offers that tailor around people and get them to actually, again, so good that they feel dumb or they feel weird or awkward for not doing it, right? They feel like they're missing out for not doing it. And then you deposit goodwill while you're doing it at the same time. I mean, guys, leads just start flowing in. And I mean that, right? It's crazy. So again, you want to start with the dream outcome. We kind of went over that. We went over perceived likelihood of achievement. You want to remove as much time and effort and sacrifice as you possibly can. Now, once you have this offer, after following that formula, what you want to do now is you want to find a way to distribute it. You want to find a way this is where actually the rubber meets the road. So you want to find a way to distribute this, but distribute this in a way where you increase frequency, meaning somebody may have a Facebook, but they may not have a Twitter account. Okay, so you want to make sure you're showing up on Facebook with these offers. So like, say someone comes to your website, you're like, this is a person that's going to make a decision. So you identify that person. And then now that person, you need to find them wherever they are at. Okay. So some of these people you may not have a phone number for. They may not have submitted a lead on your website. Some of these people don't want to be solicited. Some of these people want to shop. They want to buy, but they don't want to be sold to, right? There's two different things. They like buying, they just don't want to be sold to. So a lot of times they do a lot of research without even coming to you guys, right? And then really when they get a lot hotter is when they like, okay, let's roll, but I want to test drive the car first before we do anything. So this is where the rubber meets the road. This is how you distribute those offers in that goodwill. So you want to push these through all digital and social media channels, because again, someone may have a Facebook, they may have a Twitter, they may have an Instagram, right? They may have a Snapchat, they may have a TikTok. They may also be on YouTube, but they may spend a majority of their time on YouTube and barely be on Facebook and Instagram. So if you're pushing a message down these channels here where they're hardly there, you may or may not get in front of them. Over here, you know how you can get in front of them for sure, right? Also, they may use all of them together equally. So you want to make sure you can go on all platforms and then bang them up, right? Same thing with offline as well. So you want to make sure you're doing that offline, distributing those offers and that goodwill as well. Now, you also got to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. Just sit back and think about what you're actually doing. So the offers and goodwill that you guys are creating, or the offers themselves, make sure that they actually match up with the right audience, right? So you can have multiple offers, right? Dream outcome. Dream outcome could be they want to make sure they get a good deal, right? Dream outcome could be they want to make sure they can get their credit pulled and actually get a deal ball if they have struggling credit. They know that, right? all these different dream outcomes could be out there. You don't want to have one dream outcome and putting that in front of somebody who's getting ready to buy a $100,000 vehicle that they can struggle check for, right? Make sure your offers match with the right people. And the way you do that is through segmentation of your website. So again, let's just look at the one on the left. You can make an offer. If you make them straight to manufacturer offers, you can tailor it down to what people actually look for here, right? Number two, if you're making offers that revolve around struggling credit, less than perfect credit, well, how do you find those people? Well, those are the people that are those are the people that you guys are identifying on your website as people who are going to make a purchasing decision, but where they are showing up at on your website is through the credit apps and all the other sources that relate to less than perfect credit on your site. And then also, here's another example, right? People, a lot of times, they may filtrate. If someone filtrates out their process, let's say I'm looking for a used car. Let's say I know this car is going to be, $100,000 and up, whatever. I just want to kind of just show me everything that's 100 grand and up, and I'll find the car, because you guys got a lot of 40, 50, $60,000 cars, right? The moment they make that filter, you can identify that person. And once you identify that person, you know what type of dream outcome they will most likely, what type of dream outcome will most likely fit them. And then you make sure you deliver that to them, right? So you want to make sure you match up your offers with the right audience. And when you do that, these are some of the results that you guys get. So over here, again, this is $596 that we spent, made $27,000 in net profit. Here's another example. We spent $7 grand, sold more, but made $12,000 in net profit, right? And that was more of a buy here, pay here. So that's upfront. That doesn't include, that's upfront like down payment and stuff. That doesn't include all the money they make off interest and things like that, right? That's a little muddy waters when you're trying to understand profit with buy here, pay here's. And then real quickly, here's an example that I want you guys to listen to, but there's one part that's more important than anything.
We've been using Ricky and his team now for roughly 4 months, give or take. And I couldn't recommend these guys to you anymore. They've been able to take our traffic and triple it in a matter of months. Same with our lead count, which is directly contributed to our sales, revenue.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to point out, right? Really appreciate the testimonial, but what I really want to point out is I want to get you guys to understand that this system allows you guys to get a control over your leads, increase that flow, but also increase the quality. And by doing so, you guys grow your business that way, right? He literally just said it. By doing that, he was able to increase his revenue by doing that, right? And at the same time, we reduced our budget. We were able to spend less. So that's why I'm creating this, because if you guys understand market suffocation, if you do everything that I just showed you guys and what I just told you guys to do, if you follow that system, you guys will get similar results, right? So I do appreciate you guys spending a couple of minutes with me on this webinar. Again, I want to let you guys know who this works for, so you guys are familiar with that. Volume dealers, luxury exotic dealers, buy here, pay here, anybody that's in a competitive market, franchise dealerships. It works for pretty much all types of dealers, right? So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I appreciate you guys giving me 20, 30 minutes out of your day. Hopefully you guys found some real good value from this. Implement this stuff, use it. It's going to work for you guys. And hopefully we'll be speaking soon. Take care.